All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of RVD Rips Pokemon. I'll be giving a weekly recap today, update, couple things going on in the market that I'm seeing, some different content that we've been recently seeing trend with the YouTube content creators on the supposed market crash being averted. So I got things to say on all these topics. So thanks for joining me. Real quickly before I get started, if you enjoy this content, find it entertaining, please consider subscribing to the channel. Just in my last recent videos, only 30% of the people that viewed ended up subscribing. So if you enjoy it and you end up staying till the end, or want to continue to see new content be put out by me, please consider subscribing. So real quickly, I got to do my cred check. I got Laffy back there, my monkey Laffy, with my One Piece pack. So I'm a real fan, big time One Piece fan, like super big One Piece fan, if you couldn't tell. So got my cred check. So I think we're good to go. All right. So before I get started, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen recently just a lot of content about a market crash being averted, I guess you could say, by a lot of different YouTube content creators. So I just want to touch on that real quickly before I get into the weekly recap. A lot of these same content creators were the ones pushing that there was a crash in the first place, right? A lot of them were saying, I'm going to wait. They quickly went from being a bull to in the I'm going to wait crowd. Now they're coming back saying, oh, well, the crash is averted. And they cite some, just a couple data points to, I guess, make this opinion that the crash is averted. So just be careful with some of this content. These people seem to create the narrative that there's a crash in the first place. I never thought there was a crash. I thought there was a cool off period. That's kind of normal going into the holidays, right? A lot of card shops need to, they're kind of strapped for cash. They need to do year-end sales. They have a lot of product coming in that they need to turn and burn, and a lot of that they're just dumping to just get sales before the end of the year. So I never believed there was a crash. I continued to be buying during this period. I have sold, though. I did sell a good portion of my collection close to the market top, just things I didn't like, didn't have long-term belief in, and just things that you end up buying that you want to just sell and put into something else, right? So has a crash been averted? I don't know, guys. Were you in a crash? Did we ever crash? Feel free to put that in the comments if that's how you see it. But in my opinion, no crash happened. There's no crash to be averted. So, and real quickly, so it seems like a lot of these people, they get their, these data points. It's all from TCG player charts that they're looking at. I just think that's just holistically the wrong place to be putting all of your talking points into. Is, oh, look at the booster box price of Phantasmal Flames. It fell down to 210 or whatever, 205. Now it's back to 245. These are all short-term trends, and it's only one data point as well, I'll say. So if you're not looking at the market with different pieces of data, some of those ones that I look into is just, what's hitting the retail shelves, right? What are distributors selling to people with different distribution accounts? What are the online drops that are hitting the market as well from these different online platforms, right, and distributors? So you kind of have to look at not just piece by piece, but try to put the puzzle together and be able to shape your best judgment on where things are and where things are heading, right? So yeah, you can't just get a completely accurate picture of looking at TCG player charts. And I think that's one of the benefits that, short-term or long-term speculators have, is that they're very in tune with the market, their local area, what's hitting the shelves at a retail basis, what's dropping online, what distributors are offering as well. So people that just stay at home, look at charts, just buy most of their products at market price, they're missing out and not seeing the whole picture. So just be careful with what these influencers are telling you. They're not seeing the whole picture is my point. And until and I don't think anybody really does, unless you're the Pokemon Company International or distributors, they have a pretty good understanding of what's coming to market. And we are all kind of just playing catch up and trying to piece the puzzle together on where things are at and where things are going. So I'll give a quick example of this too. So Destin Rivals booster bundles. Um, those just 3 weeks ago were at a market price of around $62. And, in the supposed crash that was happening, they did not retrace at all. They actually just steadily increased and kept on increasing. A lot of that had to do with there just wasn't a lot of supply online, specifically on TCG Player. And many people knew that there was going to be a bundle reprint happening. Target did an online drop, and maybe a month or so ago, and people could see the writing was on the wall that there was going to be a good amount of Destin Rivals bundles and other ancillary products hitting the market soon. So while the TCG Player market price did not reflect that a reprint was coming, just because it hadn't fully hit the market yet, people that knew that reprint was coming quickly sold out of their positions, such as myself, at good at a good profit, and were quickly able to see just 2 weeks later, or 1 week, maybe 10 days later after that point, it crashed 20% down to about $50. So being able to see, using all of these different areas and data points, not just what's the chart is showing on TCG Player, that's not completely indicative of where the market is at or what's due to be coming out soon. Using all those data points and using your best judgment, I think even if it's wrong, if you're using just multiple pieces of information that you feel comfortable with, that you've had success using, continue doing so. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, at least you understand that you're going by some principles that if you continue to follow, you should be good in the long run. So there was a point even with the super premium collection 3 months ago where I could have sold all of mine for about $275 a piece, and I chose not to, right? Because I thought, hey, they're not going to get reprinted. It seems like it's probably past its, maybe they'll reprint ETBs, but not the super premium collection. Only to find out a few weeks later, nope, they're going to go and reprint those. We're already seeing those in the market, and the price cratered, down to $250 or whatever it was. And then if you're wanting to resell on the market, people are wanting to pay you less. So just use, you're not always going to win. You're not always going to bat 1,000, but use your principles that you believe in. Don't just look at one piece of data. Look at multiple pieces of data to form your own conclusions. And don't just follow what these content creators are telling you blindly. So, okay, moving on. We'll go into a couple data points that I'm noticing this week. And I guess you could say this is why some of the content creators are saying the crash is averted. So Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon sealed booster box cases and booster boxes are they're bouncing pretty good. So they're I wouldn't say that they were where they were 3-4 months ago, but they're slowly creeping back towards those numbers, recovering very strongly. Crown Zenith as well, ETBs, I think those are over $200 now. So there's tons of positive momentum coming from Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon sealed products. SV, this was another thing. A lot of booster boxes are also near all-time highs. SV, Paldea Evolved. DR is still holding strong booster box wise. Will that continue? I guess we will see. But sets to continue to watch are the early block of SV, as 3 months away until the rotation happens. Literally 3 months. So April, the beginning of April. So 3 months. So I think we'll continue to see strong growth from that early SV block era as we close out closer to rotation. So Destin Rivals is holding strong, but yeah, I will be cautious on Destin Rivals in 2026. And there's a couple reasons for that. I'll go into that very soon. So retail stock updates, things that I'm seeing in the market on the shelves. Super premium collection, it is here, as I just alluded to. The reprint is here. I was able to pick one up earlier this week. Tons more Best Buys are getting it. So this seems just to be like the tip of the iceberg, where we're only seeing the initial wave of what's to come. And I think you could say that for these other products that we're seeing hitting the shelves. Destin Rivals booster bundles. I think we're probably just seeing the early stages of it. Journey Together booster bundles, Prismatic booster bundles, continuing to see lots of Charizard UPCs, tons of collection boxes that nobody wants. So that's more or less what's hitting from Pokemon, what's hitting the market right now, and is probably going to continue to see those products ramp up even more. Maybe not so much the Charizard UPCs, they did print a lot of those, but Costco is going to be getting that, so we'll probably continue to see a lot of those hit the market, whether it's Costco's or just or Target, online drops, etc. So what we are not seeing, though, most notably, is any new Sword and Shield, well, I guess you wouldn't say new, but Sword and Shield products hitting retail shelves, whether that be Target or Walmart. No more Crown Zenith Morpeko V boxes, as much as I'd like to see those, even paying $10 a pack. 50 bucks for those. I would like to see those, but we're not seeing them. So no Sword and Shield on the market, nothing new hitting. Maybe we'll see some random Pokemon Center drops here soon, but that's to be determined. All right, so a couple of online drop data that is actually really noticeable, and why I say, hey, people are too quick to say market crash averted. First of all, there wasn't a market crash, but to even say, hey, it's been canceled. So I think the most noteworthy thing that happened this week was on Walmart yesterday. So New Year's Eve, there was tons of drops of different products on Walmart.com. And the seller was GT Collectibles. You guys may or may not know who they are. They caused a big uproar early in 2025 when they had Destin Rivals bundles for, I think, $80. Somebody did some research into the company, some YouTube content creators, only to find out that they're a subsidiary of MJ Holdings. MJ Holdings is who the stocks the shelves at Walmarts across America for Pokemon and other trading card games, sports cards as well. So it's essentially MJ Holdings dumping 151 bundles for, I think it was over or market price. It was around like $80 or so on Walmart.com. It caused a big uproar. People were upset about it. I think they even pulled the listings down for a while, the 151 bundle ones down. But this company, most people know them that they're pretty much just a shell company, subsidiary of MJ Holdings. And when MJ Holdings wants to move a lot of product on Walmart.com, they don't list it themselves. They use GT Collectibles. So yesterday on New Year's Eve, we saw large amounts of pretty high-end products dropping on Walmart.com from GT Collectibles. Most noteworthy was the Prismatic ETB for $70. So it's below market, but it's not MSRP. So this was $70 in ETB. I was able to pick up 12, thankfully. But so it was about like 25% over retail, if you consider, 55 bucks a normal ETB price for Prismatic Evolutions. And those sold out very quick. But the one that was most notable that did not sell out quick was the Destin Rivals booster bundles. They were selling these for $40 on Walmart.com through GT Collectibles. And this listing, which is, mind you, that's over 20% below current market value. If we compare that to earlier in the month when Destin Rivals bundles were $62, that's like 33%, down from its all-time high that it was just 3 weeks ago. That GT Collectibles, aka pretty much MJ Holdings, was dumping these products for $40, and it lasted over 2.5 hours, probably closer to 3. They did a couple waves of this product on Walmart.com. And why that is notable is, first of all, even if we just compare it to market price now, 52 bucks, if they're dropping it down to 40 bucks, which is about 20%, 22% or so, they know something's coming. You don't drop, their goal in listing this is to dump as many of these products as they can over retail, below market, just wanting they're getting it over retail, so they're getting their margin. We don't have, they're not worried about missing out on their margin at the $40, selling as many as they can. And you could speculate, hey, they're wanting to, bump up their sales numbers before Q4 ends, right? I don't think they're publicly traded company, MJ Holdings or GT Collectibles. So I don't necessarily buy that. They're dumping as many of these products as they can, securing their margin, and just getting it all out. You don't have they must have had a lot of units to be able to sell or to keep that listing up for nearly 3 hours at, Destin Rivals, the hottest set, it's the next Evolving Skies, right? Well, then why was it up for 3 hours? Just $10 practically over retail price. So something's not right with that. And to dismiss that is, I think, would be foolish. Additionally, other boxes or other products that they released online, they dumped Victini boxes for $30. That's only a little bit above market. And then surprise boxes too. I don't think the price point was very good on those, but they did drop them regardless. Like I said, I got the prismatic ETBs, but even still, if MJ Holdings or GT Collectibles is dumping these, that makes me nervous a little bit. I still believe in prismatic ETBs, like a $70 price point. I don't think the price is ever going to fall below 70 price point in 2026, and it rotates out in 2027. So I think it's a good price point to get in, and I think there's very low risk to it, which is why I went through with securing those units. But it still is enough of a reason to pause and be cautious on what's to come. Okay, so real quickly too, other times we've seen GT collectible dumps. Well, I already mentioned the 151 bundle. The last time they did the big one was Surging Sparks ETBs. Now, Surging Sparks ETBs in 2025 got up to like $110. GT Collectibles just did a random drop out of, all of a sudden, it seemed like, right, unsuspiciously, for $70 an ETB. This is when market was 110 on them. And they dumped a bunch of them. People bought them out immediately, right? Only to find out maybe even later that week or the following week that Costco was going to be getting a large amount of these, and there's going to be a large reprint of Searching Sparks bundle ETBs. So they did that in 2025. So that was a precursor of a large reprint for Surging Sparks. They did the same thing with the, recently Black Bolt and White Flare. They dropped a lot of binder collections, ETBs, etc. Only for the the heavy hitters boxes to be hitting Costco, and then seemingly a large reprint is coming as well for Black Bolt and White Flare. They also did the same thing with Paldean Fates, dropping a bunch of tech stickers, etc. Maybe some other various products too, only for large amounts of product of that to come out. Now with the Paldean Fates, that product, it was actually, you should have been picking those up when they dropped those, because the market was so strong at that point that it never even made any type of correction on the product itself. It was so in demand that it didn't affect really market price at all. So you need to, take it with a grain of salt, but it is noteworthy anytime GT Collectibles dumps a lot of product, especially a high-end, supposedly a high-end product like Destin Rivals, even though if it's only a booster bundle, when they're dumping it that below market, usually it means that something is in the works with the reprint wise. So, all right. Nothing else really so much in the market. I'll just say, smart money, it seems, like I was saying, Sword and Shield is where a lot of the smart money is going into, or has been going into recently on this pullback. A lot of the products have pulled back a lot. We're starting to see them bounce a little bit. So it seems like a lot of money is going into early SV, Paldea Evolved cases, booster boxes. Sun and Moon as well is also performing very strong recently. So be cautious with Destin Rivals and Journey Together too. What I anticipate we see here very soon, based on just what we're kind of seeing with these DR bundle reprints, is I presume we're going to see a lot of ETBs for both Destined Rivals and Journey Together coming out probably in coordination. They did the same thing recently with Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks. Those are kind of the same block. So when Pokemon does reprints, they typically reprint, blocks of an era of that are closely that are right next to each other. So Twilight Masquerade, Surging Sparks, right? Now there was Stellar Crown in between those two sets, but Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks were in high demand, so those were the ones that they reprinted. Maybe we'll see the same with Journey Together. I don't know how high a demand it's in, but it's in that same block range where it seems likely that they're just going to do a big reprint of them together because it's easier to do since they're in that same print blocks, I guess. So I presume that's what we'll see here very soon. And yeah, one other thing, I'll just end on, just be cautious with paying market prices for Destined Rivals and Journey Together. And if a Destined Rivals crash does happen in 2026, then you could go back to all these content creators and tell them, hey, the crash wasn't averted. So anyways, guys, I'll be doing a couple other videos here later this week on my 2026 goals. I did allude those a little bit in some of my last videos, but I'll go a little bit more into depth in those, and I'll see you then. Thank you, guys.